Guess where I am? We're in the Villa of Hadrian. I've wanted to come here for years. It's really hot, and I don't know if you can hear me over the sound of the cicadas, which are really loud. But we are in Villa Hadrianus. This is so cool. So now I'm in complete I can't believe I'm here mode. This beautiful long stretch of water is known as the Canpous. It's a representation of the Nile. And then down there, right at the end, where the people are walking past, there are some caryatids which are copies of the ones from the Erection in Athens. And then right down that end, we have copies of various Greek sculptures, ones of the Amazons, Ares, Hermes, and there's a crocodile just there, which is a fountain, or was a fountain, back in the day when it all worked. And then on this end is the building known as the Serapeum. It used to have fountains and waterfalls in it. It's again linked to the Nile. Serapis was a sort of Hellenistic addition to the Egyptian pantheon. He's a sort of cross between a Nile deity and Osiris. So he's very closely linked to the Isis cult, which I'm a little bit obsessed with. I'm a little bit obsessed with all Roman religions. I will probably verbal more about this when I'm out of the sun. I mean, I'm in the shade, but at home when I've actually charged my camera again. So yeah, I am in my element right now. My element apparently being a very cicada-filled bit of shade next to the Canpous. So now I'm standing just in front of the Serapeum, and you can hopefully, if I'm angling this right, see the Canpous behind me. So Hadrian was really into particularly the Greek end of the empire. They used to call him the Greek. Hence all of this beautiful stuff that is based on, that end of the Mediterranean. And hence all these, zoom in a bit, very orderly, these beautiful copies of famous sculptures. A lot of the structures in this villa represent various places in the empire which he was particularly fond of. Which is rather sweet, I think. He was very into the arts, and that's kind of rare in an emperor. Basically kind of, especially early empire, you would have Nero, which didn't go down too well. Claudius was quite fond of the arts, particularly literary arts, and Augustus was fond of everything. But Hadrian was particularly famous and particularly respected for his love of the arts. Hadrian was just a nice guy. We like Hadrian. I like Hadrian. So, yeah, I still can't believe I'm here. It's just so beautiful. Okay, so these are the large baths. These are the oldest baths in the villa complex. They are, the largest baths, fairly normal, traditional bath. What's the word? Architecture, that's the one. So I can't remember which way around it is, but one of them will be the hot room, kind of like a sauna. Then you have the tepidarium, which is the warm room, and the calidarium, frigidarium, which is the cold room. And you don't go in that order, you go in the other order. I'm good at this whole larky, this is why I'm not a teledon. Anyway, so these would have been all decorated in stucco, which is like a plaster type thing. Apparently some of the plaster remains. I'm imagining it's probably in the museum. And then obviously underneath down there would have been the underfloor heating doodads. So yeah, there are 3 different baths here. We've already gone past the small baths, so called because they're smaller, and there's another one somewhere. These are some of the things that are easier to work out what they are, because baths look like baths. A lot of the buildings in here, they don't actually know what they're for, and we're kind of guessing based on Hadrian's biography and things like that, where he talks about what things were, why he built them. But yeah, this is so cool! So this was my day in Hadrian's Villa in Tivoli, which was just beautiful, and I hope that you can sort of get an idea of how glorious this place was from my videos, because it's lovely. Hadrian, if you don't know, was one of the really quite popular and well remembered emperors. He was emperor between 117 and 138 AD, so yeah, it's a 22 year reign, which is pretty good going, and he was pretty popular despite having a bit of a strained relationship with the Senate on and off, and despite being really quite, I don't want to say odd, but he does not behave like normal good emperors. He wore a beard, he was very into Greek culture in a way that, you know, we tend to think now of the Romans as sort of an extension of ancient Greece. The Roman view of Greece was sort of, like, they kind of viewed them as really kind of decadent and a bit flamboyant and a bit sort of, I don't want to say gay, because gay and straight and bi are modern terms. Like, the Romans did not have the same view of sexuality that we do. But if you brought a Roman into today's world and gave him a modern English vocabulary, he would probably use a homophobic slur to refer to the Greeks. Like, because especially Athenian culture was very had this sort of thing about sort of pederasty, basically. It was considered not only okay but perfectly normal for a richer older guy to court for a while a similarly rich younger guy, and this was just the norm. This was just what you did. You know, you had your wife, but she was for breeding, and then you had your boyfriend, and he was for fun. And, you know, the Roman idea was, oh, well, they spend a bit too much time naked running around gymnasia, and no, we're not into that. Which is part of the reason that Nero, this is kind of an aside, but I find it really interesting drawing parallels between Hadrian and Nero, because I think in a lot of ways they're kind of similar. But Hadrian was a lot more successful. Nero was desperately trying to get the senatorial class on board with cultural things that were kind of Greek, so things like theatre and you know, sort of symposium culture and dinner parties in the Greek way, and the senatorial class was just like, nope, you're not doing this. You are not having my wife going on stage and acting in your play. Actors are basically prostitutes. This is not okay. Hadrian was doing similar things, but in a lot more successful way. He was known as the Little Greek, Greculus, and was very, very into Greek culture, but managed to reintroduce things like
gymnasia and that sort of thing, just sort of slowly and gently, in a way that was a lot more successful than Nero going, we're doing this now. So, and the other thing about Hadrian kind of links into his Greekiness, I suppose, is that he very famously had this very intense love affair with this beautiful young lad named Antinous, who died very young under very suspicious circumstances, and it was really quite sad. And Hadrian was absolutely distraught when this lad died. He drowned in the Nile, unfortunately. Antinous, not Hadrian. And so a lot of stuff in his villa sort of calls back to his love of Antinous and his sort of love of places within the empire, in a way that I think personally is quite beautiful. But yeah, for that sort of reason, a lot of people consider Hadrian a kind of gay emperor or bisexual emperor. And yeah, he probably would, you know, by today's standards, be considered queer. But it's really muddy trying to, you know, attach modern words for sexuality onto the ancient world. But anyway, so yeah, Hadrian's Villa is beautiful. It was built for him, you know, during his reign, and he added and added and added onto it. There's a lot of bits of it that sort of ape bits of the empire that he likes. So you'll see in the video there's a bit that resembles the Nile. There are, you know, a lot of copies of Greek sculptures, which is really interesting. And yeah, so Hadrian. We like Hadrian. He was overall a pretty good guy. And did remarkably well and is remembered remarkably well, especially considering, you know, he didn't behave in a way that was sort of normal, and he wasn't actually Italian, not that Italy existed in the way that it does now, but he was technically more, like, he was the first emperor who was not of Italian blood, effectively. He was Spanish. You know, his family were from Spain. So, yeah, this is the lovely house of an emperor who was gay and an immigrant. Sort of.